Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Slipstream F1 Championship, and these drivers are here at Canada. We took a break off last week, and now we're here for this week here at Canada, and it's going to be a wild one. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Anthony McCurry. And Anthony, you said that you had a pretty good description of how you could describe Canada. What would you say Canada is most like?
Canada is most Canada is most like Monza but cold. That's what I said during the pre-race, and it's kind of true. Montreal has got it's very much like Monza in the sense where there's a lot of straights, a lot of chicanes. It's basically going to be bring your second most low downforce setup to this racetrack and hope for the best. And we're looking for a great race here at the Circuit de Jacques Villeneuve.
This is the biggest field that we have so far. 10 drivers have come to try to conquer Montreal. And on top of the board, no surprise, it's Bronson Stafford, the driver that has won every single race so far this season. 5 wins under his belt, 2 poles so far under practice. Fastest car on the track, looking to get another pole here. But we've got some drivers that we haven't seen in a while. Matthew Dyer showing back up after he was here last back at Spain. And then also we have some other drivers showing up, helping with Renault as well. We've got Darth coming in, Frozen. We saw Burek out. Trent jumps here, but also we got Matthew Rodriguez coming in and helping out with the AlphaTauri team.
FRN's own Matthew Rodriguez is going to be driving for Alpha here today, and that will be some valuable points that AlphaTauri will need if they're going to take the Constructors' Championship away from Ferrari, who have got it pretty well locked up at this point if they continue to only have one AlphaTauri show up week after week. But there's two of them in the field today, so they have a good chance to maybe put a dent inside of Ferrari's lead for the Constructors' Championship. However, it's not that big of a lead when all things are considered, considering that there's basically only been one alpha running for the primarily throughout the whole season. It's pretty shocking that there's only an 11-point lead that Ferrari has coming into this race, but that all could change at the end of it. But both Ferraris have been shown to be fast here tonight.
They really have shown to be quick, and we're excited to see how they're going to be doing here today. As the Ferraris really having probably the biggest challenge here. Bronson's still fastest car out there, but it's that mid to upper tier that has really stepped up and shown, hey, we've got some speed to show off here. And that's something to watch out for as the later that this season goes on, as some of these drivers are going to be trying to compete every single week. We don't have confirmed that Matthew Dyer will be staying here. We know Matthew Rodriguez is coming in to sub for Shane Tarian, who otherwise known as Hazardous. So we're excited to see that there's a lot more drivers showing up week after week. We also know that in about 2 to 3 weeks, we might be seeing another driver showing up in Patrick Young. He should be coming in here, and a lot of other drivers that have signed up for the league. Excited to see when they're able to show up. But coming to our last minute here in practice, Anthony, it's time for hot laps, and who's going to be putting them down?
Well, right now, Matthew Dyer is on a bit of a hot lap. He started purpling Sector 1, and now he's in Sector 2. He's basically on a qualifying run. He's got a very fast car setup right now. The skies have gotten a little bit dark over us here in Montreal, so we're not really sure if there's going to be rain or not throughout this weekend race, but we're going to find out very soon. As when we go to Q, it's going to give us a little bit more insight to what the weather is going to look like. A purple Sector 2 for Matthew Dyer, as Logan Brakey has retired from the session, getting ready for qualifying. Will Matthew Dyer make it to the end of the lap before time is expired to make this lap count? I think he might. Coming through the final chicane past the wall of champions, what can this Renault do? We saw him with a very fast car in Barcelona. This car, top of the board, 110.2, fastest lap of the session.
Yeah, Matthews Dyer looking like a favorite out here, as now we're switching back to Bronson Stafford, as we still have 2 minutes left for drivers that are out on track. If you want to finish your lap, you can do it. Only drivers that have potential of finishing a lap here is Matthew Dyer and Bronson Stafford. And these are your two favorites to win this race. Purple Sector 2 for the AlphaTauri. It's just Bronson out on track. We'll see what he can do. Can he best Matthew Dyer on the lap that he just put down?
Well, these are basically mock qualifying runs, so this is going to be something that we're going to see during qualifying. It's going to be a battle between these two teams. What can he do out of the final chicane, down to the front stretch of the start-finish straight? What can he do? Oh, my goodness, a 110.218, so 1/100th off of the time of Matthew Dyer.
And that is crazy. That is close racing action at its fullest, and fantastic runs being shown by everyone there. As you can see, the differences on the times, 9 thousandths of a second there, then it's 5/10 back to the Ferrari of Brakey. As Tanner Johnson going to be parking his machine. These drivers are showing off. They've got speed, and Canada and Montreal, kind of a well-known track for a lot of these drivers. Probably one of the easier tracks, probably the second most used track for a lot of these guys, besides Australia, which is the first race of the season. So, not surprised to see a lot of competition where we're seeing cars are very close. We got our front two that are extremely close, and then down to third, all the way down to sixth place. Drivers extremely close to one another.
Yeah, it's a really compact field tonight. We have a lot of teams that have shown up. Both Renaults are here tonight, so they're both good, pretty much on pace with each other. The second Renault of Darth is a bit off the pace compared to his teammate, but should be right back up to where they are in a few laps. And we are in the rain for qualifying, so rain has struck the circuit. This is going to throw a monkey wrench into the qualifying for tonight's race. When rain, we've seen a rain qualifying session before. That was also at Barcelona, another track that a lot of these drivers were at. So This could shake up the field quite a bit. Whoever's the best at rain racing is going to be shining here for qualifying. We're really not sure. We don't have a whole lot of rain races to gather from in this league that we've broadcasted anyway. That we can really pull from to know that who is better than others during these rain qualifying sessions.
Well, like you said, the last rain race we had was at Barcelona. And the driver that got the pole there, that was Matthew Dyer, who showed up for his first start of the season. Now here for his second start, we'll see where drivers going to be setting up as they're going to be scrambling through our telemetry here in the first couple of corners. And by the time that we get to our third corner, I think we'll figure out where drivers are at. Bronson Stafford, though, is at a huge disadvantage here in the rain, as this AlphaTauri team, he told us before the race, he has some force feedback issues for his wheel that he's working with here. So personally, he is having a lot of struggles, but still holding on so far. Top of the board at the moment.
At top of the board, you wouldn't know that he's having struggles with the way he's been driving. He has been on point pretty much since the start of practice all the way through to qualifying. He is number one right now. Trenton Jump, surprisingly, right now running second place. That is a really good time.
Under the wall, that's going to be an end of his quali.
And Bronson Stafford will not be starting on pole. We might get a very shocking pole sitter because Frozen and Nerda had pole for a second, but now Trenton Jump, Darth Armong now up on the pole, provisional pole right now. JD, it's going to be a battle between, I think, 3 or 4 drivers before this pole position.
Who can get through the champion chicane at the end here? Your final corner before you get to the stretch. Here it comes, JD leading the way, but will you have it coming out of the corner? Coming out of the corner, it's going to be Matthew Dyer, JD, side by side. Brakey has a chance, but it's going to be JD across the line.
And there was almost a Ferrari lockout, but Matthew Dyer does get second place, so put that Renault on the front row. Logan Brakey and Trenton Jump in 4th place. That was a fantastic run, but your pole sitter is going to be JD and the Ferrari with fast pace in the wet.
Yeah, JD, fantastic run on his part. Our top 3 all within 1/10 of one another, and everyone else kind of scattered. The surprise there, Bronson Stafford, who looked like he was going to be getting the pole, loses it through sector number 2, and then has to work his way forward from there. As you can see, drivers are going to be starting in the back. Spencer Hardison, another surprise to see in the back with Bronson Stafford. Matthew Rodriguez in 8th. We'll see if that machine can find himself up front or at least in the middle of the pack. I think that's where he's aiming for. But both AlphaTauris starting in the back.
Yeah, both alphas in the back, and the one that you mentioned that was a big surprise is Bronson. Although he did have some issues throughout the practice with the force feedback, so really we kind of expected if it went into a rain situation, it was going to be a little bit difficult for him. But thankfully, we're starting dry. The track's going to be green, so we're going to have some interesting. We're going to have some time to get some rubber down on the surface before these cars are really going to be showing what they can do. But Sam, going into this race, it's looking like we touched on it earlier. It's a close battle between the Ferraris and the AlphaTauris for the constructors lead. If the race doesn't go either the Alpha's way, Ferrari might scamper away with this championship lead going into next week.
Yeah, I mean, really, with all the new drivers that have added into today's race, this is the best chance that AlphaTauri has at trying to take that lead back for constructors. We know Bronson Stafford is always going to be a driver hunting for a win, but can the Ferraris continue on with having great finishes? I mean, both drivers have finished in the podium position multiple times this season. JD 4 times this season. Out of the 5 races that we've done so far, Brakey has finished in the podium 3 times. So both those drivers have figured out how to be up front. We'll see if they can be up there as the formation lap has started for 35 laps here today. And Matthew Rodriguez has already disqualified himself during the formation lap.
Well, he will get back to the grid. We found that out in Bahrain that if you DSQ from the formation lap, you do start the race. So he will actually get to race in this race. We've seen throughout the rest of the season, your winners so far have been all AlphaTauri, and they've all been Bronson Stafford. Today, Bronson Stafford has had his worst qualifying run of the season, starting all the way back in 9th place, and 9th out of 10. He's got a long way to go to get back to the front of the field. He's got a fast car. He can do it. I have no doubt that we will see that Alpha towards the front of the field a little later on in the race. But we have a long way to go. A 35 lap race here today. Last week we had a 50% race, and from there on out, we will be running 50% races for the remainder of the season. Ferrari on pole with Renault second. And Sam, we're about ready to line them up for the start. This is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, JD right now is feeling quite comfortable, but you look at the tire compounds. We've seen the graphic come up multiple times so far. 2 stops. Looks like that's the way to go during this race, but the drivers that are going to be starting on the hards and the mediums might be trying to stretch it out to possibly turning this race into a one-stopper.
Yeah, if they turn this into a one-stop race, barring rain, that will be the case for a lot of these drivers. I think that they have the capacity to do it. The track is very easy to do tire management with if you're easy on the brakes. If you don't lock your tires up too much, you should be fine. We're going to grid them up for the start of the race. We'll be looking for the lights. We'll get the Canadian Grand Prix underway.
Drivers are underway, waiting to get going. As they're set up and getting ready to go, we are seeing the lights. They're popping up, and 5 lights are up and 5 lights away. As it's going to be JD trying to get the best start he can and does, holding off the Renault, as well as you got Brakey following suit, as all the action still behind, as they're starting to scramble all over the place on the back end, as Matthew Dyer still holding second back. Brakey is dropped all the way back to fourth, battling for third and fourth, as it looks like Jump going to be staying in suit, all battling in the back of the pack.
Check out Tanner Johnson, who leaped all the way up to, I believe that's the 4th place position that Haas driver did. He's running in 4th place. He got a great start through there. I don't know if he cut the course any at all. It looked like there was a car that went wide, but I think that was how he was able to get back on track. There's a few, everyone seems to get around this track fine, but here comes the Renault of Matthew Dyer on the back end of the Ferrari of JD. That Renault is extremely fast in the dry. He's on the soft tires, so he's got the tire compound advantage. Will he use it to his advantage going down the back straight for the first time today into the chicane? He's still right there. Nothing good yet for that Ferrari.
Right now, JD is still leading the way, as the Renault of Matthew Dyer still in 2nd place. Now the driver we're going to have our eyes on is the driver that's in 8th place now. That's going to be Bronson Stafford. How quick can we see that AlphaTauri come moving up? He's won every single race so far. He's the only Canadian that's in the field, I believe. He's trying to win his home track, as he's now moved up to 7th place.
He's gotten around. That would be Trenton Jump, who we thought was going to have a pretty good start. Actually fell back a little bit, but now here comes Bronson Stafford working his way through the field. His next target is going to be Darth Armagh, which is going to be the 2nd Alpha driver. I'm sorry, no, that won't be his next target. Frozen Inertia will be his next target, the 2nd of the Haas. Frozen's teammate, Tanner Johnson, running very well up in the 4th place position. We touched on it at the start of the race. That Haas is a bit faster than we've seen in recent weeks, and I would dare say that it's competitive for the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and that's what's going to help this team so much. As the more drivers that join into this league, the more it's going to look like you're going to see that there is some pace in these drivers. As you can tell on that graphic, it's a 2-stopper. It doesn't matter if you start on the mediums or on the softs. The question is, if you start on the hard compounds, how far can you go? The one driver that's on the hard compounds starting out the race is going to be Frozen, running in 6th place. We'll see how far that machine can go without making a mistake. JD now Brakey now has the fastest lap being placed. As coming across again, we'll see if Bronson takes it, and does not look like it. DRS now enabled.
All right, DRS is enabled on lap 3. That way that some of these battles that are going into the final chicane that we've seen between Matthew Dyer and JD might be a little bit closer. Your top 3 are nose to wing with each other. They have not gone anywhere to get away from each other on the racing surface, and that is kind of shocking considering that Matthew Dyer is running on the softs compound. Although we did see that throughout practice, the soft was not necessarily the preferred compound. We saw that the times didn't really seem to get any quicker, I should say, when they were on soft versus medium, but he's trying to make those red wall tires work. He locks it up majorly going into the hairpin. I don't know if he's going to hurt his tires at all with that one, but now he's going to fall into the clutches of Logan Brakey. What can Brakey do going down into the final chicane? Both of them are going to have DRS, but that Renault of Matthew Dyer looks like he's going to get the advantage. He's going to have a go at it. No, thinks better of it. Not quite close enough to make the pass, but he's going to have DRS going down the front stretch. This is a double DRS zone. Will he take him into turn number 1? What is Matthew Dyer going to do to the outside of the Ferrari? Not quite. JD shuts the door and is able to get it back into turn 2.
Well, don't worry, Brakey's still in the back gearbox of the Renault. So we'll see if Brakey can make a pass here. So far, this is looking great for the Ferraris. They are running quick. They're both up front in podium positions, and Bronson Stafford's still stuck in 7th place.
Yeah, both of these Ferraris with a podium position. If the race were to end right now, it's very early on, because we're only on 4 of 35. So too early to tell if this is going to be where they're finishing, but a great day considering that both the Alphas are having a bit of an issue. The Drivers' Championship was not going to get anywhere as Logan Brakey puts his car where he needs to and gets an amazing pass done at the end of that long DRS zone. He's going to get 2nd place away from Matthew Dyer. So now it's both of the Ferraris up in the 1st and 2nd position, and now Brakey's going to go after his teammate.
And we've seen these guys battle back and forth. JD and Brakey, these teammates have been consistently up front and consistently battling one another. How nice and clean are they going to be for these first couple of laps here, running 1-2?
I don't know about that. We've seen a lot of close calls between these teammates. Think back to Australia, where I believe it was JD overcooked it going through one of these chicanes and actually almost took himself out of the race and brought out a safety car. And then Bahrain, those two of them were close together again, and they almost get in contact. Pretty much every time that we've seen these two drivers next to each other, whether they intend to or not, they don't hate each other at all. They have a lot of respect for each other, but they just seem to find themselves in unopportune situations, and we'll have to watch out if they get into any here. But right now it's all JD up front, which is kind of reverse of what we normally see, and Brakey almost lost it. He saved it, but now that gives 2nd place back to the Renault.
And that is a huge mistake. Same exact spot that we saw Bronson Stafford spin it when he was on, when we were doing qualifying. So it just shows, even on dry, that spot is difficult for these drivers. DRS back and activated as they're now trying to run down JD, who's starting to, you're starting to see the difference there of the softs compared to the mediums. It looks like the advantage that Matthew Dyer had could be drifting away. As I say that, though, he is closing quick on JD.
Yeah, he's got a fast car. I think he keeps locking up, and so he starts and he locks up a little bit too much. He's going to go way wide throughout turn 2. Here comes the Ferrari again, trying to get on back on the gearbox, and all of the while, JD is loving the sight of this. These two are battling for the 2nd position. He's trying to scamper away, but I think all of these drivers are so close together on setup and skill base that it's just hard to get away from each other, as the Renault has a fast car, but these Ferraris here at Canada are extra quick, and here comes, speaking of the Ferrari, down the DRS zone under the bridge. What are we going to see? Give that position back to Logan Brakey.
Brakey able to make that pass cleanly in the Ferrari. And honestly, it has been just a back and forth battle between 2nd and 3rd place. As JD almost, I continue to watch Matthew Dyer, and he continues to just overcook these corners and keeps on slamming on his brakes just a little bit too much. And he was doing that during practice. I thought maybe he was just pushing his car too much. I think that's just his overall issue that he's dealing with at the moment.
Yeah, I've noticed in turn 1, the hairpin, there's a lot of places that he's trying to get on the brakes a little bit too hard and not really making it work. He's not on the DRS going down the front stretch. I don't know if that's strategic or not. Oh, he locks it up again going through there. So there's something wrong on that Renault team. He's struggling for tire grip at the moment. And you got to think, though, I don't think these guys want to battle too much. I think they want to get into let's run together and hot lap so we can get away from the impending doom that is Bronson Stafford, who almost loses it as we cut back to him. But Bronson Stafford is now up to 4th position. He's gotten around all of the slower traffic. He's now trying to run down our leaders. He's not that far back, all things considered. And if our 3 leaders continue to battle each other like this, we might see this AlphaTauri back up towards the front sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Bronson Stafford has moved himself all the way back from 9th up to now 4th place. Matthew Dyer's heavy brakes in again, sliding so much. He just continues to lock up his brakes, which is going to be eating up his tires, and he's already on the softer compounds that have kind of already started to hit their max already. So it's just concerning to watch for this Renault team that kind of was a favorite coming into this race, might be having issues, and also could just be the fact that he just does not feel comfortable on these softer compounds.
No one really used the soft compounds outside of qualifying. We didn't see very many of them get on these tires until very late in practice, and those that did not run very fast laps at all. The mediums and the hards, to that extent, were seem to be the tire of choice, and that's why I think that some of these drivers that are starting on the mediums, that had the choice to be on the mediums after qualifying, if they try to one-stop this race, then I believe that they can get on the hard tire somewhere around lap maybe 12 and be able to go all the way to the end of the race on that compound. Now, maybe 12 is a bit too early. I think that you ideally want to stretch it all the way to about lap 15 before you make that choice. But considering that this is a 35 lap race, if you make it to lap 15 on this medium tire, then the hard tires, no problem. You can definitely make it to the end of the race on that on one stop. And even though that a lot of these drivers, for the telemetry that came up, they were saying that it was going to two-stop. I really don't think that's going to be the case, especially for the Ferraris who are both on mediums.
Yeah, I think the drivers that are on mediums can easily make this and turn this into a one-stopper as the Ferraris continue to race hard. Brakey now trying to figure out how to get by his teammate as the way to go forward. And Matthew Dyer early in the pits, and this is his window. It just opened up.
He's going to go on to the mediums. Maybe he's thinking to make the mediums last all the way to the end of the race, which I think
don't think so.
I think it's going to
be a two-stopper.
It's got to be. And that's the, if he is doing that, if he is doing a two-stop strategy, then I question that, because a lot of these drivers seem like they're going for a one-stop. We've seen just how much a an extra stop can ruin a day. Think back to Bahrain, where both the Ferraris came down and made an extra stop, but Bronson Stafford did not, and was able to pull out about a 39-second lead by the end of the race. And you think they'd learn from that? But we'll have to see. I don't think that Matthew Dyer really had a choice of what tire he could be on. I think he was forced to be on softs at the end of qualifying as per the choice rule.
Yeah, if you chose what tire to qualify in, that was the tire that you had to work with, as all drivers are in the top 10 drivers. The tire compound you qualify with, that's the one you have to utilize. Is Brakey coming into the inside here into champion chicane and going to get it done. And we have a new leader now. It's going to be Brakey.
Logan Brakey in the second of the two Ferraris will now be the leader, but don't look now. There is a very fast AlphaTauri about 2 seconds back who is closing in on this battle as Logan Brakey almost loses it coming out of turn number 2. It's starting to rain. There is rain on the racetrack. This is going to shake up everything that's wet down in Sector 1. This is the first rain race that we're going to have if it continues to get like this. So maybe Matthew Dyer will be the beneficiary of all of this chaos, because he's going to come down and get some intermediates. Although I think he might, if he could have stayed out a little bit longer, he would have been all right.
Yeah, if he just stayed out a little bit longer, he would have been fine. This time, it looking like it might be turned into possibly a 3-stop for this driver, which is terrible to see, but it matters on how quick does the racetrack get wet. Yes, there is rain in Sector 1, but when does the whole entire course become a little bit too wet?
It's starting to drizzle in Sector 2 and 3. It's not quite as bad as it is in Sector 1, but it's going to get wet really quick if this rain continues. We've got a yellow flag out. It looks like it's Trenton jump. It spun it around. Looks like that's turn number 7 he's done that in, so he's going to have to get back on the racetrack, but that's what you see. It's starting to get wet. These drivers that normally don't have any problems are now going to start struggling for grip, and especially people like Bronson Stafford, who's got that issue with his force feedback. We saw him spin it around during qualifying. What is going to happen to him is he's caught the back end of the Ferraris. This is a 3-way battle for the lead yet again.
Exit out of 2 as Bronson almost loses it off of 2. It's getting a little bit too slick, it looks like. These drivers have to be thinking about pitting now into the pits. It's going to be Johnson as well as Frozen. First 2 coming in. That's both the Haas drivers, which they're stacking in the pit stall. That's going to be hurting Frozen.
Yeah, they had to double stack, and there's going to be a wing replacement on Frozen's car. So not only did they double stack, but a wing replacement, that's going to set him back quite a bit. But we've seen some of these drivers had some bad luck, so maybe he'll be able to get back on the track and try to do it. The track conditions are such that the DRS is now disabled, but here comes Bronson. He's going to try and get second. He does get second, but there's no DRS now, so he's not going to have DRS down the front stretch as Brakey goes in and gets back tagged to the back end, and he's going to loop it around in the hairpin. Now is a side-by-side battle for the lead between Bronson and JD.
JD able to try to hold on. He's doing a great job right now, but it's going to be the overtake being used by Bronson Stafford ERS, helping that AlphaTauri get back up to the lead and now into the pits. It was a race to the pits, and right there, you saw it. It was AlphaTauri that won it.
Not only that, but JD just got a 5-second penalty for collision with the Alpha going into pit road. He's going to have to get his wing changed, and now the Ferraris are going to be double stacked. This is bad on the part of the Ferrari team. They're going to have to double stack it. Whoa, he almost comes out right in front of Spencer. What are the Ferraris doing out there? Now Brakey has to get his wing replaced. It's falling apart for Ferrari, but Matthew Dyer has stayed out on track.
He's staying out on the mediums, feeling like he can do just a couple more laps. He needs to gain as much time as possible because he's lost it all by pitting so early and being on those softs. I mean, that right there is what hurt him. The fact that rain came 2 laps after he had to come into the pits, he's going to be losing so much time, and there's not enough laps for him to gain all the time that he just lost.
Not at all. I don't think he's going to definitely run out of time, although with the bad luck that we've seen some of the drivers, he might actually get out of this a little bit okay, because even if he pits, he's going to be right in the middle of a battle between not only his teammate, but he's going to be in a battle between the 2 Ferraris, and now the McLaren of Spencer Hardinson, who finds himself in 4th place after the Ferrari's hardships.
Wait, this might be a good move. Trent Jump was just probably notified to go to the heavy wets. As Jump has gone to the wets, everyone else is on intermediates. Could Matthew Dyer be thinking and outbraining everyone else here?
Well, Trenton just came in the pit road to get intermediates put on. He was on the wets. Now he's gone to inters.
Matthew Dyer stays out again.
Matthew clearly thinks he can stay out, although that AlphaTauri is putting out some fast laps on the inters. It wouldn't be very much longer, I don't think, before he's going to get overtaken, but Matthew is hoping that the rain doesn't last very long. I don't know if it's going to rain the rest of the race or if this is just a bit of a shower, because it looks like it's slowing down almost.
Could he just be waiting for it to finally start drying up, and then he doesn't have to pit until probably a lap 25? 3-second penalty goes to Tanner Johnson, excuse me, as Bronson is caught up to the Renault and looking to take back that lead that he lost coming into the pits.
The rain has gotten a little bit less than it was in Sector 2. Sector 3 is coming down still pretty heavily, but the rain seems to be going away. It was raining for a bit there, pretty heavily, I might add. But if the rain goes away within the next couple of laps, this is definitely going to benefit someone like Matthew Dyer, who has been able to keep his tire temps pretty low in the rain. So maybe because of that, his tire wear is not going to be so bad. He might be able to pull out some kind of lead out of this and be able to go much further than everyone else. Although, if the rain continues to fall for the next few laps, how much time is he going to lose to some of these drivers?
I mean, at this point, he's kind of stuck with whatever he threw down, which was go to the mediums as early as he did. Everyone else staying on the intermediates. Only driver on the softer, on the dry compounds is going to be Matthew Dyer. JD has that 5-second penalty, is further ahead than Spencer Hardison enough to still keep the position he's in. Brakey has dropped all the way back to 5th place after double stacking into the pits and getting wing repair.
Yeah, that was a bit of an interesting situation. At Ferrari's part, they both came down pit road. They had to get tires then, and it was looking like it was going to be okay, because with the lead that JD had over Brakey, they could have double stacked pretty easily, but they both had to get wing repaired because Logan ran into the back end of Bronson Stafford, and then entering pit road, JD ran into the back end of Stafford again. So both Ferraris had an issue. JD got a penalty for it, and they double stacked with 2 wing repairs. That was got to be some of the most unfortunate luck that any team has had to have going on to pit road in a long time.
Well, everyone up front's pretty spread out, but the drivers that are the closest right now are the Haas machines, and this is kind of giving us shades of what we were seeing back in the Netherlands when we were seeing these drivers battling back and forth and trying to figure out what position they were going to be in.
And these 2 Haas's, they find themselves close together week in and week out, and today is no exception. We saw Tanner Johnson running 4th place at one point in this race, and now the Haas's have kind of fallen back to where they've been running throughout the rest of the season. But Tanner Johnson, like we said, week in and week out, has a fast car. There's a caution on the racetrack. That's that's Matthew Dyer.
Matthew Dyer spun it. It kind of looked like he locked it up into corner number 1, and now has to limp this machine around and possibly come into the pits. It is not slow down on the wets. It is still raining, and that's the issue here we have for the Renault.
And now he's going to fall into the clutches of the McLaren of Spencer Hardison, who we've traditionally seen in Red Bull. He made the switch to McLaren. I think he ran for Renault 2 weeks ago when we were in Monaco. Now he's running for McLaren. McLaren is looking to get on the podium in their first race here in the Slipstream F1 Championship.
We say that, but don't look now, as it looks like he's being heavily pressured. Actually, that's Trenton Jump that's behind him. That's on the fresh inner. So a lot of drivers that are right on top of one another. You've got 2 drivers battling for position. That's the McLaren as well as the Renault. And then behind them is going to be the lap machine of Trenton Jump.
Oh, speaking of Renault and McLaren trying to go against Renault. Spencer's got a bit of a run going down into the final chicane. What can he do? He's got the run. He's got him cleared. He's got to get back to the outside of the racetrack. He's going to do it. Give the 3rd place position to Spencer Hardison. Did you ever think we would say that at the beginning of this race?
Matthew Dyer is still staying out. He's got to know something that we don't. JD has left the session, and I don't know if he's gone to robo mode or not. We're going to look at his lap times and see if he's losing a lot of time. I think he might have been dropped into robo JD now.
Yeah, we got JD bot running around the track at the moment, and he is still on the racetrack. But I think that we're going to have to wait and see how bad his lap times fall off. I also want to mention, I think Trenton Jump is also in robo mode, or else he's ghosting around almost every single car. He can't be in robot mode, but he is ghosting a bit around every car, so he can basically put that car wherever he wants to.
Well, if he's ghosting through people, then that's robo right there.
Okay, he's not driving like an AI, which is why.
Yeah, I mean, there are some AIs. I mean, back in Spain, Matthew Dyer, we didn't notice it for the final 5 laps, though. He was also in bot mode to finish that race out. So most likely we're seeing the Alfa Romeo having issues, but drivers still respecting one another and giving each other space. As Jump decided to back out, as JD able to lock back in and trying to get back into his machine and hoping that when he logs back in, it doesn't throw his car into a wall.
We're going to have to keep an eye on that 21 Ferrari as he is just going now through turn 2. We'll have to make sure that he doesn't bin it somewhere, although I think the game will be a little bit more forgiving than that, as we're on lap 17 of 35. This race is coming down to a close very quickly as we're about to get to 15 laps to go and about 3 laps time. This race
DRS enabled. It is drying up.
And this might benefit Matthew after all.
That's coming in the pit, frozen, first car in. It might have been a little bit too early. The track's still kind of slick. Everyone still needs to pit. And once pit cycles go through, Matthew Dyer will be given the lead. But will we see everyone else switch to the harder compounds due to the fact that we just passed the halfway marker?
But you can use any tire compound you want to. For those that are not familiar with the rules in Formula One, during a normal circumstance race, then you have to use 2 out of the 3 compounds available to you throughout the entire race weekend. That goes out the window if it rains. You can use whatever compound tire you want after that. So we're about to see some interesting tire strats as Bronson Stafford going for mediums. I think this is going to be his last stop of the race.
JD going into the pits. We'll see what he gets, as well as Spencer Hardison. Matthew Dyer, though, coming down the front stretch. Will he take the lead here over Bronson Stafford? He's moved up to 2nd place. Will he take the lead as Bronson's coming out of the pits now? Doesn't look like it. Bronson keeps the lead.
Bronson does keep the lead, but Matthew Dyer, he's been able to conserve his tires, so those tires might be okay to go to the end. He's been on them for a long time, but we might just see him try to stretch it all the way to the end of these tires. I don't think he's going to be competitive enough to maybe go for the win. I think his tires are a little bit too far gone for that. However, he is in a very good position as Logan Brakey has not come into the pits. The Ferraris are not too keen to double stack like they did last time, but he's on the intermediates and those tires are struggling around this track.
Yeah, and he's already at a huge disadvantage at the moment, and it's just going to get worse for Brakey as he is still stuck back in 3rd place, about to lose his position to his teammate. And being on intermediates compared to, a tire compound that's set for the dry, you're losing about a second and a half, sometimes 2 seconds compared to the rest of the field. This is a massive loss for Brakey. You had to run a complete lap on these inners.
Well, let's not forget that JD's got a 5-second time penalty, so if Logan Brady can catch back up to the back end and be within 5 seconds, he's going to take over that position. And that's something that Spencer Hardenson's also remembering, because if he can stay within 5 seconds, he's still running a net 4th place right now, will be a net 3rd place by the time that Brady comes into the pits. So, right now, JD is not 3rd. It's Spencer Hardenson.
Unofficially, JD is running in 3rd place position, but due to the penalties that we know are out there, right now JD has about a 5-second penalty that will be added after the race. So he needs at least have over a 5-second gap on the car behind him to keep his position. As in the pits, Brakey's in there, drops back to 5th place at the moment, and it looks like that's where he's going to be stalling out.
So I want to point something out. Matthew Dyer hasn't really lost touch with Bronson. He's actually kind of reeled in a little bit. He's been hovering around 3 seconds, but that distance, that interval closes in by a couple of tenths every so often. I think that Matthew Dyer, when the rain came out, that's the best thing that could have happened for these tires, because he was able to keep them cool. He didn't push them. So now he's got basically fresher tires than he normally would have. He made this strategy work the best he could, I think, and now he's closing in on that AlphaTauri.
And here's the thing, Matthew Dyer, we watched practice. It was a 30-minute practice the drivers get to have before their 1-lap qualifying run and then to the race. And during that practice time, we saw Matthew Dyer being the fastest car out of all the machines that were running on medium. So we're surprised, but at the same time, not really, to see that this Renault team is closing quick, as it was almost 3.5 seconds back at one point. Now it's down to almost 2.5 seconds. Here comes Matthew Dyer trying to run down this AlphaTauri team of Bronson Stafford, and Stafford is looking to go 6 for 6 this season, as he is being hunted down now by Matthew Dyer.
I'm more or less shocked at the fact that these tires, throughout the entire session we just had with the rain, I'm more or less surprised that the tires still have any life in them, considering that how long he's been out on these tires. He's been on these tires 11 laps compared to Bronson Stafford's 2 laps, and he's still running faster lap times. We thought he was going to lose touch completely with the field during that rain session. He's actually, not only did he not lose touch with the field, he's about to battle for a lead in a couple of laps time if he keeps running the pace he's running at. JD, not a factor, still pulling away from him. It's about an 8-second gap between that Ferrari. Spencer Hardenson is about a 5-second gap between himself and JD. Logan Brakey is going to be about an 8-second gap between himself and the McLaren. Right now, the closest battle is going to be between Matthew Dyer and Bronson Stafford, and the interval is closed into under 2 seconds. It's going to get close towards the end of the race.
And we're looking here at the biggest gainers and losers. Biggest loser so far, Trent Jump, has lost 6 positions since the start of the green. Up 6 positions goes to Spencer Hardison, but our biggest mover today goes to Bronson Stafford. Matthew Dyer, the only driver besides Tanner Johnson that has not changed, as now we got a yellow in sector 1. Looking through, I think that was just a car that's going slow. I think that might have been Darth that had the issue.
I think Darth may have been going slow through there. I think that was a Phantom Yellow. He got called out for not really getting through a turn close. The game kind of throws up some interesting yellow flags sometimes, and that one was another one. And we're still green throughout this sector. And
Dyer's
right now,
there. Dyer is there.
It's getting close. It's getting really good. JD with a fast lap.
JD needs to start just pulling away, which he has. He has gapped himself more than 5 seconds away from Spencer Hardison, and now you got Brakey putting the fastest lap down for himself, but he's back in 5th place, and he's 5 seconds away from Spencer Hardison. There's a huge gap between all these drivers. Now here's the question, can they make it to the end on these mediums? We know Matthew Dyer cannot. It's just way too far out for him to make it all the way to the end here on these on these mediums, because he went from soft to medium. He had to pit on lap 8. So it is impossible for these tires to make it all the way to the end. Still needs to pit one more time, but does everyone else, can they make it to the end?
You say he can't make it to the end. He had about a 5 or 6 second gap he had to make up to get to Bronson Stafford. He's now on DRS, attempting to pass Bronson Stafford. He's in the double DRS zone, so he's going to have it going down the front stretch as well on the start finish straight. What can he do going down the start finish straight? He's going to have DRS again. Is he going to try and cook it into turn one? We've seen him try this move earlier in the race. Does he think about it?
Not
He's
close
bet
enough.
a bit too far back, but you know that if he was close enough, he was going to try it.
And here's the thing: when Matthew Dyer was on the softs, you just wiggle out of the exit of corner number 2. With these mediums, he has really started to just looks a lot more stable and able to just put down lap times that are screaming quick. He doesn't have the fastest lap time because he wasn't on the freshest of tires, but he is certainly catching up to Bronson Stafford.
Yeah, he's right there. He hasn't gone away. He is now in the DRS zone. He's comfortably in the DRS zone. So if he can maintain this pace, keep staying within the DRS zone, get the toe off of the leader, then maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to stay there, conserve his tires, because he's trying to go to the end. He does not want to have to pit again. These drivers, I don't know. Okay, so if Matthew Dyer has been able to make it this long on these tires, then all these other drivers who are on these tires are thinking, okay, maybe I can too, and they're going to try and go that same distance. I just don't see I don't see a reality at the end of this race where these other drivers come to pit.
Matthew in.
As soon as I say that, Matthew says it's time.
And he was able to stay out there for 14 laps, come to 15 laps possibly there. It's going to be close for some of these other drivers. Is now swapping back to the mediums where he felt the most comfortable. And we'll see if Matthew Dyer can put down the fastest lap here, as JD now up to second place. Spencer Hardison into third. We'll see if Brakey's able to get by Matthew Dyer here. It doesn't look like it. No, Matthew Dyer will come out in fourth place, as Bronson Stafford feeling good. But how much of that gap will he continue to have as we're inching ourselves closer and closer to the end of this thing? 12 laps to go in this race. Anthony, really, there's still a chance for Matthew Dyer to catch up, because those tires are gonna start getting worn and worn down the longer we go.
Yeah, we saw just how much faster that Dyer was on those worn tires compared to the other drivers. So now he's on fresh tires. He's putting in some wicked fast laps. However, the gap to the leader is massive. It's about 15.5 seconds. He's got to make up basically a second a lap, more than a second a lap, if he wants to get back to the leader. Can he do it? I think he might be able to, because he's going to be within DRS range of a lot of these drivers. He's got to pass to get around them to even have a chance to get back up there. I think he's got Spencer Hardison find stuff in third place. He's about ready to get passed by Matthew Dyer on the racetrack in a couple laps. He's going to have DRS. Maybe he's going to get the pass done before that. Then he's got to get around the Ferrari of JD. After that, he's got to run down the leader again. The gap is now 14 and 14.8 seconds to the leader. He's just put down a purple sector 3. Call me crazy, but he might be able to do it.
It's really looking nerve-wracking. He's going to have to put down the best laps here to finish this race off, because I believe Bronson Stafford can make it to the end after looking at it. But I got a question for you, Anthony. On my telemetry, it says that JD's been out there on his tires for about 18 laps. Do you still see that on your screen, or is that just an issue on my end?
No, he's definitely got 18 laps on those tires. I don't know if that's true or not. I think it's actually more like 8. So we'll have to keep that up. I think that is actually 8 laps he's been on those tires.
Yeah, maybe the only reason I would think that it says 18 for him, possibly because of practice time. He just used too many medium tires for practice, possibly, but I don't think that's right. But a pass made there for third place. Matthew Dyer passed Spencer Hardison, and now can he clock the fastest laps that he can? Fastest lap being placed there, a 111.473 there for Matthew Dyer, as he continues to be putting on screaming quick lap times to the other drivers that are not going to be able to put these fast laps because they've kind of passed their peak.
And all the while, JD is actually closing in a little bit on Bronson Stafford. As the sun is trying to peek around the clouds, it's actually going to get a lot warmer on the racetrack as the sun now starts to beat in some parts on sector 2 and 3. So stark contrast to what we saw earlier on the race is now JD is actually closing in, like I mentioned earlier, and but he's still got that 5-second penalty. So Bronson Stafford right now is effectively got a 10-second lead over JD, but Matthew Dyer is 7.5 seconds behind JD, who once he gets within range will have a net second place. I still think that he's got the pace. I just don't know if he has the laps in order to do it.
Yeah, that's the main issue. Are there enough laps for this to be done? I mean, he's already purpled sector 1 again, and now we'll see if he puts on even a faster lap. Coming around the final corners down the front stretch, here comes the Renault team across the line, and does not purple that lap, but still a quick lap time as he is still chipping away at this differential between himself and JD. It's just not enough. He needs to be chipping away about over a second and a half every lap if he wants to even catch up to Bronson Stafford, and it's just not enough that he's doing.
Right now, I think he's hoping that these other drivers that are on these tires will have to pit. Like their tires will fall off so much that it'll either slow them down to the point where he can effectively keep up with them and get back up there, or that they have to come down and pit. If you're Bronson Stafford, you don't want to have to pit. You have to stay out and keep the lead of the race. He's had a tough race. He's found himself. He started towards the back because of qualifying woes. He's now leading the race. He's had to go through all the traffic, through a rain cycle that nearly could have taken out a lot of these drivers. And now the sun's out. He's leading the race by effectively a 10-second gap over JD with a 5-second time penalty. And the closest competitor to you had to pit for tires because he never went on to the intermediates. This is something special that we're seeing in this race. This has got to be one, other than Australia, this has got to be one of the most unique races we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and it just shows that Bronson Stafford is a monster in this league. I mean, he has won every single race so far this season. I'm pretty sure he had this race circled up, wants to win at the home track. And so far, the Canadian and Bronson Stafford doing a great job in the AlphaTauri team, trying to make it 6 for 6 this season. And it's possible, but don't look back now. Here comes Matthew Dyer. He has now chipped it down to less than 5.5 seconds, and he is trying his best to catch up to JD. He's going to be close enough where once you have the penalty, Matthew Dyer will get that second place finish. But there's just not enough time. He needs an extra 3 laps if he wants to catch up to Bronson.
Yeah, he's going to need a lot of extra time. There's the yellow flags. It's the Phantom Yellow in Sector 3.
Yeah.
We're going to have yeah, if he had more laps, that's the only thing. If we were still doing 100% races, we'd be just getting settled in. We'd be coming back to halfway. We're talking about coming to the end of the race. That would be halfway if we were doing 100% races. By then, yeah, he could definitely make that up, no problem. But considering that we're only doing a half distance, I just don't see how we'd have the time. And if JD didn't have that time penalty, we might be talking about him potentially getting the second place position. But as it stands right now, he's fallen into the clutches of Matthew Dyer, and Dyer on aggregate would get that second place podium spot if the race were to end right now. The race isn't over yet, though. Don't count this. Any of this could be temporary. As we've seen today, we've had a number of drivers up in that top 3 spot.
Well, Anthony, I'm going to ask you to go check out who's got penalties and who doesn't while we do a quick rundown. We got Bronson Stafford in first place in the AlphaTauri team. He's got an eventful day so far. There was a little bit of rain, but he had to start all the way back in 8th place, found himself up to first after about 6 laps. An amazing run from the start and to the finish at this point. JD in second. We know that he's got a 5-second penalty in second place, and he's being ran down by Matthew Dyer, fastest car on the track, and is coming with a head of steam at JD, but doesn't look like there's enough time for him to catch up to Bronson, though. Spencer Hardison in the McLaren team has made the switch to McLaren, running fourth. Solid day for himself, but he is being ran down by the other Ferrari, a Brakey. Brakey had a lot of issues. They double stacked into the pits. Then he had to run an extra lap on the inners that made him lose even more time. Looking like 4th place might be the end for this Ferrari team if he can get by Spencer Hardison. And then in 6th place, you got Darth, who first race of the season, looking like he's going to get a solid 6th place finish. No one around him, and he's not close enough to make any passes just yet. And you got the Haas drivers in 7th and 8th. Matthew Rodriguez in his first start this season. This is our FRN colleague. He's running ninth, not last, which is huge. We thought for sure he was going to finish in last. And in last place, you got Trenton Jump, who's just been struggling ever since he got into the wets, and then he's been ghosting ever since.
I believe the only other driver with a penalty would be Frozen. I think he's gotten a penalty for too many off tracks, and that'd be a 3-second penalty. So only two drivers with active penalties. Logan Brady did not get a penalty for running in the back of Bronson Stafford into the hairpins, and he is running a very comfortable fifth place position ahead of Darth. In fact, he's actually closest battle on the racetrack. Oh, there goes Frozen, another 3-second penalty for him. In fact, as we are looking at it, Logan Brady is actually closing in on that McLaren in the closing stages of this race, going for a fourth place.
Yeah, and it really is charging quick on the McLaren is the Ferrari of Brady. And, Brady is wanting to at least get up to fourth place as they're going to be losing points in constructors with just having Matthew Rodriguez here. It adds another point to be on there. It's kind of like that bonus point, which will allow AlphaTauri to kind of chip away at that constructors lead that they have. That's about 11 points. But with Bronson Stafford looking like he's going to get a win here, championship wise for everyone else, I mean, we're not even at the halfway marker yet, and this season already looks kind of over for the rest of the everyone else for the drivers' championship.
Yeah, Bronson Stafford, if he gets this win here tonight, it's gonna take something superb for these other drivers to be able to leapfrog him for the lead of the race. But as you said, the constructors championship is wide open, and it should continue to stay wide open for the rest of the season because it's been a battle between Ferraris and Alpha Tauri, that is, throughout the entire season. I don't think it's going to go away until we get to Brazil, which was our final race of the season. So I don't think we're definitely going to have that battle throughout the entire season.
Well, it once was the closest battle between Spencer Hardison and Brakey. It's now between JD and Matthew Dyer, as Dyer is caught up to JD so quick here. And he's looking like he's going to make the pass here in the DRS zone. Looks like he might be close enough to possibly make the pass into turn number one. Not close enough yet for this chicane, the final chicane that we're coming up to. But man, has it been a run for Matthew Dyer, who had to do 5 laps in the rain on mediums and somehow was able to survive all those laps.
Yeah, and that was something else that I didn't expect him to do because we saw a lot of other drivers having problems, but he's actually gotten pretty good. Logan Brakey. I don't know what happened there.
Issues for the Ferrari as he drops back, losing over a second, as it looks like he might have gone into the wall, possibly at Champions Corner there, or Champions Wall. As we move back up to the battle for second place, I want to take that back. Matthew Dyer possibly could be winning this race if he didn't spin out, because I believe under the rain he did spin out. That really cost him greatly on time.
That did happen. I remember that now. He did, in going to turn one, he locked the wheels, the front tires up, and actually slid, kind of doing, I think, kind of did a pirouette going into turn number one. So yeah, we could see him battling for the lead right now had that not happened. The fact that he's still here though is something special, I think, because he's now within 6 seconds of the leaders. He's going to pass pass JD for second place, although this is a really close battle, and it doesn't need to be because Matthew Dyer, with JD's penalty, Dyer's already second. He's just got to get around him, and that Ferrari's not making it easy for him.
Yeah, if anything, JD is hurting his team as a whole by holding up this Renault that could have been trying to challenge and gain as much time on Bronson Stafford. And with him blocking and defending as hard as he is, you're hurting your team as a whole. I mean, Bronson could be losing points by not winning this race, but yet you are holding off the Renault. This is a weird challenge that we're seeing here by JD, but these drivers, in person, you're not thinking about penalties for later in the race. It's in the moment, it's in the now. I got to defend my position.
Yeah, even though that you have a time penalty, you definitely want to prove that I am faster than you. And if we have to battle like this for position later on in the season, then we're going to do it. And Johnson gets a 3-second penalty. I think that's his first. Bronson Stafford coming down into the final chicane one more time, or for the penultimate time. He's going to take the white flag of this race. It has not been easy for this AlphaTauri, like we mentioned earlier. He has gone through so much adversity to get to where he's at right now. 1 lap to go for the Alpha. We are on the final lap. The battle for second is really not there, but this battle for on-track second hasn't gone away.
And it looks like the battle that was for fourth has been made. Brakey able to get by Spencer Hardison finally, after being behind that McLaren for about 5 laps now, able to finally make that pass being made. We'll see if Matthew Dyer can on track make the pass by JD. We know if he can at least stay within 5 seconds, he will be net given that second place because of the penalties, as Bronson Stafford cruising as he is 5.5 seconds ahead of this group that are just battling as hard as they are. The question is, Bronson has lost a lot of time. If Matthew Dyer wasn't having to be slowed down and challenging JD so much, could he have ran down Bronson Stafford?
I don't think that he could have. I think Bronson had a fast car all day long. I honestly think that he would have run out of laps to do it. It's become down what is traditionally known as the back straight for this race. Going through Champions Corner for one last time. Bronson Stafford, would you believe it? Qualified 9th, going to win the Canadian Grand Prix.
And coming across the line, JD officially crosses the line. Matthew Dyer, though, will be given second place as the Ferrari gonna at least get another podium adding to his list. JD with his 5th podium this season, which is a great run for himself. Matthew Dyer, another podium finish after all the starts that he's had. So far, great runs overall for both those drivers. Ferrari 3-4 once again.
I don't think that JD's going to get this third. He got another 5-second time penalty at the end of the race. I think that Logan Brakey was close enough to get that third place podium position away from his teammate.
No, because of the fact that when you cross the line, it automatically adds the penalties. So this is where they officially will be finishing, and JD will get third, Brakey will get fourth.
We'll have to wait and see, because it was for a different penalty. It was for an unserved penalty. So there was something else that happened on the racetrack, perhaps, that we didn't know about. As Tanner Johnson is just trying to get across the line. You know, he's had a long race. He's gonna bring that Haas around for the 8th position, but Logan Brakey, wow. Bronson Stafford is going to be your winner here in Canada. He's gonna get the first place position again, his 6th of the year. What a drive. And yeah, he gets the driver of the day. I can respect that. He earned this one, as he did in Monaco. He gets it here in Montreal. And so we're gonna go take a look at your official standings, well, in a second we are, but gets to enjoy yet another victory here in the Slipstream Formula 1 Championship. Matthew Dyer on the pole. One of the Ferrari drivers is on the podium as well. We really not sure which one yet, because I really don't think it was JD. But we'll have to find out and see what happened. But fantastic run by all these drivers.
And it was JD that officially will be getting the 3rd place finish. Brakey gets 4th. With both of them double stacking, they still finished 3rd and 4th, which is so surprising with all the issues Ferrari had here today. And still, Bronson Stafford started 9th here today after issues on quali, and getting the win done after 2 pit stops. A shocker of a day for himself. Matthew Dyer will get the fastest lap of the day after being the last car that pitted. Still, Anthony, this is a wild race, and yet still consistently 6th win of the season, has won every single race so far this season. Bronson Stafford does it again.
Yeah, and he had to earn this one. It was not easy this time. It's never easy to win these races. We talk about how, 39-second leads, a dominating performance, like going from pole to the finish completely in the lead. We talk about that like it's easy. It's never easy. These drivers work hard race after race to get to where they are in the standings. And the fact that he had to come all the way back from a 9th place qualifying, he had the 2nd worst time because of a spin that he had, and to go from there all the way through the field. Remember, this is a shorter race. This is a half distance race. So the fact he was able to get himself in that position, all the other drivers that were on track that could have hampered him, they did not. He was able to get up to the lead. After he took the lead, he never looked back, and he is now a 6-time winner this season, having swept all the races, including this one here in Montreal.
A wild race overall. We're only going to have 2 interviews here tonight as Matthew Dyer has to go run off to work. So he will not be here for interviews, but we still have 3rd place then 1st place position. Let's start off with talking with JD. JD, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us?
Yeah, I hear you guys.
Well, that was a wild race here at Montreal. You got a little bit of dry racing, a little bit of wet racing. How was it for you, though?
I think overall I'm pretty pleased with the result, despite how everything went down.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of went down, I mean, that pit stop was one of the trickier spots where both you and Bronson came in at the same time after Bronson made that late pass. Were you expecting to get that penalty from the contact, or did Bronson just slow up way quicker than you expected?
I didn't even know I got the penalty, honestly. I didn't even get the notification, so I'm driving the whole race thinking me and Dyer are fighting for position on the track, and then that was all a waste. Otherwise, I would have turned the afterburners off and just let him through and cruised. I don't know. It's just I don't think he did anything wrong. I don't think Bronson did anything wrong with that.
It's a tough pit road to get onto. You're coming down off of the longest straight on the track and have to slam the brakes to get on pit road. So we would call it a racing incident up here in the booth, and I think we all went in knowing that pit road, if 2 cars were that close, was going to be an issue. But the Ferrari team on that pit stop had to double stack, and not only did they double stack, but you both had to get wing changes, which definitely hurt your on track position. But you still get a 3rd place, which, considering all that happened in this race, is pretty incredible. How were you, once you got back on track, did you turn on the jets thinking, I can still get this podium? Or did you just kind of go into it with whatever happens?
Well, after the disconnect, and those are starting to get really annoying. After the disconnect, I switched onto the mediums. I started running down Bronson like pretty consistently. I think I got within 5 seconds at one point, and then I looked back and I knew Dyer had pitted around lap 26, 27. I knew he'd be charging hard, and as I saw him coming timesheets, as he started coming closer and closer, I started to dial everything back. I stopped using my overtake button. Went to lean mix for a lap or 2 just to be ready for the attack, and I think I put a pretty good defense overall. So on the track, I would say I'm P2, and circumstantially I'm P3. So I guess I can't be too happy, but I am starting to get pretty fed up with how the servers are being managed.
Yeah, I mean, that slight, it would be frustrating. I mean, it's happened multiple times so far this season, but I gotta say, still a good rebound for the way that this race went for you, JD. But before I let you go, we're gonna hand the floor off to you.
No, I just want to thank you guys sticking through with us, and shout out to Logan. I think we tried our best there. Tried our best there, bud, but things just didn't go. We'll get them next week.
Well, that's JD on the Ferrari team getting a 3rd place finish here at Montreal, and we'll be seeing you next week. And good luck next week. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk to you again.
Yep. Have a good night, guys. Thanks.
Next week, we get to go to Austria, which is going to be a fun race to see. Another quick track, where we get to see if drivers are able to hold on to the speed. But before we get there, we got to talk to our winner here tonight, Bronson Stafford. Bronson, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, that was an eventful race. I know before the broadcast, you talked to me, you felt like this was one you might be losing, but it turns out you still continue to be consistent and another win on your belt.
Yeah, honestly, I had a third place car, but I didn't make any mistakes like JD and Matt did, and I think that's really where the difference came.
Now, when we were seeing drivers switching to the wet tires, one driver that didn't switch was Matt Dyer. And were you surprised by that move, or did you think, well, he pitted already, he can't lose any more time, of course he's staying out?
Kind of both. When he came in for the mediums, obviously like early on, and the rain was just about to show up, I was like, he's either gonna have to stay on him or hope it doesn't get bad enough. And it really never got too bad. If he didn't spin throughout the rain, he actually would have been about 5 or 6 seconds ahead after we switched back from intermediates to the mediums, and I think he probably would have won that race if not for spinning under the wet conditions. Just he lost probably about anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds, and he finished within 5. So I think he had that race won on that strategy.
Well, we're getting used to seeing you up here in the booth in this position, and it's we've had a number of races that we knew about halfway through the race that it was going to be you that we were talking to for the win of the race. But today, we didn't know. It was, I mean, first off, a bad qualifying run, not on your part. It's just it was raining during qualifying, and I guess you had to spin in sector 2 of the racetrack. So you started 9th, and then when the race started, it was dry. You tore your way through the field, then the rain came, then every strategy went out the window. Everyone was on different strategies. Everyone was trying to throw something. I think Trenton Jump went on full wets instead of intermediates to see if they were faster, and ended up spinning. And then we still see that you're consistent enough to get the win. This one wasn't easy. How are you feeling after coming all the way from 9th, which is the last row of the grid tonight, getting a win, much like you did in Monaco, because it was also kind of a similar situation where you started kind of midway through the pack and had to work your way up. You seem like you can put your car anywhere you want to. How are you feeling after this win?
Yeah, this one was definitely tougher. I really messed it up in qualifying. I got the curb a little too much and picked up the power and just spun it into the wall. And so, unfortunate there. I think I really like the rain. So I started on the mediums because the rain was supposed to be about 20 minutes-ish out, but as we're doing formation lap, it said about 10 to 15. And I was like, cool, mediums will go right till the rain. And when the track started getting a little wet, you could really see Brakey and JD really start to slide, while I was kind of more able to keep the car in a straight line and get power down. And I think that's really where I kind of won the race, was I was able to get past both of them on the pit lap to go to intermediates and take advantage of them having a double stack and everything there, and just kind of stay consistent. But that was definitely one of the harder races. I'll definitely be looking forward to having a new wheel, since this current one broke out and I don't have force feedback. So it was just an extra pain tonight, but it'll be it was fun. It was a good race. It was a really fun race, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that was something I was just about to touch on there, Bronson. With no force feedback going into the wet, I mean, that must be one of the most difficult things to even try to do, let alone trying to race with no feedback on the dry.
Yeah, that's really what caught me out in qualifying. I couldn't feel the curbs or like any wheel spin, so I kind of learned in the race not to really trust how I would normally run with no feeling through the tires. So I just took it extra easy, and it worked out really well. So, but yeah, really unfortunate for Matt though. I really think Matt would have won this race, and even JD would have been like right on me for second or third. And so I really did kind of luck into this one tonight, just by keeping the car clean and keeping out of trouble.
Well, to be fair, it wouldn't be a Matt Dyer race if it wasn't him throwing away his chances to win it. But before we let you go, Bronson, we do want to send the floor off to you.
Yeah, honestly, every week, you guys, huge, great job. It's always fun to go back and rewatch. And the call last week from Brakey, we went and postponed it because we only had 5 drivers, and it seemed like it paid off for the better. We had 10 tonight, so we had a full points grid, which was really nice to see, and it was really fun throughout, and I hope we can keep that up.
Well, that's Bronson Stafford and the AlphaTauri team. As we wait and see how the points are going to shuffle out for the constructors, we already kind of know who's dominating on the championship side with your 6 wins this season. A wild season. We'll see if you can continue on next week at Austria. Have a great rest of your night there, Bronson.
Thanks, Sam.
And Anthony, I mean, it's still dominant as well. I mean, we thought there was a chance maybe Bronson could falter this week, but it just doesn't happen.
No, he stays consistent, and that's the thing that we've been saying all season long: is you have to be consistent if you want to have a chance at this at the drivers' championship. And the same goes for the constructors' championship, because we've seen the Ferraris, even though that they haven't gotten to victory yet, they have stayed consistent to the point where they are consistently on podiums, where they are getting the maximum points that they can possibly get week in and week out, barring a couple of instances that happen on the racetrack. So that's how they've been able. Also, the fact that AlphaTauri usually only has 1 car show up, that's how they're able to stay within the championship hunt for the constructors. The drivers' championship is pretty much all Bronson Stafford. That's not to say that Bronson hasn't earned those wins. He has earned every single win that he has had to come out with. Australia, it was a safety car that could, and a time penalty that could have taken a win away from him. He had the better pit strategy in Bahrain. In Zandvoort, it was just he learned the track quicker than everyone else. And then tonight, what a race! First rain race of the season. It didn't rain all race long. A shower came through, threw everyone's strategy out the window. And I gotta say, he also had the best strategy today. He's mentioned that he had the on the mediums, went into the wets, kept the car going despite his issues with his wheel. I would dare say that Bronson Stafford, one of the most consistent Formula One drivers in Slipstream, and he's earned it. I'll keep saying it. I think he's earned this win.
Completely agree with that one, Anthony, as that is going to be coming to the end of this race here at Montreal. Anthony, like always, thank you for being in the booth with me.
It's always a pleasure, Sam, and thank you for being the lead on these. And I can't wait till we get to Austria. It's another temple of speed. We go to a lot of these tracks that are quick, and we're here in Canada. We'll go to another one in Spielberg. It's going to be great.
I cannot wait for next week. Austria, one of my favorite tracks. We'll see how many drivers show up for that one, because more and more drivers seem to be wanting to join into the action here. I think Matthew Dyer might have figured out a strategy schedule-wise for him to finally be racing every week, hopefully. But we have to wait and see until we get there. More racing action here on the Flatout Racing Network continues tomorrow, as we've got the Hijinks Clothing 87 Vintage Series. Those drivers, they're going to Daytona Speedway. It is going to be fast. It's going to be quick. Cars slipping and sliding, as that is going to be all the action for that at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do not want to miss those drivers putting on a great show. But for here and tonight, thank you everyone for watching this race at Montreal. Slipstream does it again with another fantastic race. Bronson carries it forward, another win, continuing on his streak of winning every single race so far this season. But we know there are contenders that can beat him out, and they just need to make sure that they stay consistent. For myself, Sam Dyer, with Anthony Mercury joining me as my co-host, thank you for watching another presentation of the Flatout Racing Network. Have a great rest of your night.